favor? Aye.
Aye.
Number 3, review MS4 2018 annual report. Carrie, you want to make your presentation, please?
Good evening, everybody. I just have a quick update on an annual report that we do for the village. This is something that's been intact since 2005. This is the NPDS Phase 2 MS4 program. This is the National Pollution Elimination Detection System for your municipal storm sewer system. This is a water quality-based program. We are required by the state of Illinois to have this program. This not only includes public works, but does include building and enforcement as well. It's something that we work through with public works as well with the marketing department and with building for enforcement of codes. There are something called the 6 minimum control measures that the state asks us to define and then also measure on an annual basis. Those 6 things include public education and outreach, public participation involvement, illicit discharge detection and elimination, construction site runoff control, post-construction runoff control, pollution prevention, and good housekeeping. I will note that these are things that your village staff are already doing on a daily or annual basis, so we are just simply reporting these things to the state as a part of this program. I'd be happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Anybody have any questions?
Thank you.
Well, good. Thank you very much. Number 4, discuss sanitary sewer televising at 175th Street and Ridgeland Avenue. John?
I'll give you a brief synopsis, and as Kevin said, we got Andrew here from engineering firm if we have any technical questions. As we're all aware, MWRD started a repair project for their main sanitary sewer. It runs from 175th and Ridgeland all the way into Oak Forest. During this construction, they started to do some investigatory measures into the intersection, their interceptor pit, and some of the other areas that were in that proximity. The village found that there are some main sewer lines that we have that are well beyond deteriorated, and along with the concurrent to the work with that MWRD is doing, we're looking for a large infrastructure repair. We're requesting this repair to be done at this time in concurrent with MWRD because of the bypass system that is put in place. This bypass system, by utilizing it at this time, can save us an estimated $600,000 as opposed to trying to do it at a later time. This request does have us replacing a good footage of piping, which also is in concurrent with the upcoming 175th Street work that is re-leveling the elevation of that, which we're going to have to do at that time anyways. So we're looking again to try to do all of this work concurrent with MWRD. MWRD does have contractors on site for the work that they are doing. This request is also going to ask that we bypass the bidding requirements and piggyback off of MWRD's previously bid contract and have the work again done concurrently with their contractor that is on site.
So you said this will be a savings, so we won't have to get any permits. We'll work right off MWRD and stuff?
Yes, sir. Again, you know, for those of you that don't know what the bypass piping is, it's the big black piping you see out there at grade. That piping, what it does is it pumps all the sanitary sewage through them and keeps the underground sanitary line open for repairs. Again, that structure is estimated at a $600,000 cost if we tried to do it at a later time.
All right. Andrew, you want to comment or?
Yeah, I just a few points to add. I've obviously been working with Public Works to make sure that this is that the village realizes the potential savings by utilizing this bypass system that's already in place. We look at it as a preventative maintenance project. In order to basically repair some manholes, repair some of the sewer pipe out there, as well as do some cleaning and televising work to inspect some additional sanitary sewer along Ridgeland Avenue from 167th Street down to 175th Street. So basically trying to realize the savings associated with the bypass system already in place. We have a contractor already on board that's currently maintaining that system. And basically this will allow us to take a look at those pipes and possibly address any concerns while that system is still on site before we have to undertake that project without that bypass system and incur those additional costs. So we do think it's an important project to kind of jump on right now while that system's in place. So.
Do we have any time frame on how long this will take? I know the MWRD project's going to be prolonged, and that we have no control over that. But I mean, we're not going to doing this isn't going to delay any of their work or anything, right? It's just working in conjunction with them to try to get it done while it's open and inconvenience the neighbors less.
Correct. The cleaning and televising work probably could start as within a few weeks, and probably should be wrapped up by about probably early May. And I'm thinking that the manhole and the sewer work is probably going to start right around May. Pending any permit approvals from MWRD, for that. So, and then anticipating that work to take about 4 to 6 weeks for that work. So.
Unless we find any major defects that we're going to have to do a point repair real quick to do. Since we had that failure at 167th about a month or two ago, the best option of all the system is down, that we can be able to televise all the way up to 167. Like John said before, otherwise, to do this in the future with our new plans, looking at pressurizing, just a bypass loan, $600,000 that we would have to put in, never re-bother the residents in the area again. So we're just taking advantage of what's set up there.
Just need approval for this to come to the board then?
Correct. Real quick there, sir. If you could look at page 2, I do have a breakdown of what our costs are going to be incurred here. The first line is the actual repairs of the structure at 175th and Ridgeland at a cost of approximately $311,000. The second portion of this is, as Kevin brought up and Andy brought up, is the televising of the sewer system. Again, with our recent issues of the complete deterioration of that system that we experienced at 167th. Again, in conjunction to this work, we're going to be televising from 175th to 167th. It's just televising. It's given us an idea of what we need for future repairs. There will be a small additional amount of bypass that needs to be put in to do a section of that. Again, by doing this now as opposed to later, it allows us to put the bypass piping in front of the Freedom Pond area prior to installing all of the entry gateways into that walking path. So by doing it now, it doesn't interfere with any existing or newly installed infrastructure. We can delay that slightly, do the work we need to do, and then again do all of these tasks in conjunction with each other, as opposed to putting new installation and then having to interfere with it.
And the other big thing is when we redo the roadway on Richland and 175th roadways, the new pipe will be laid at the exact spot it needs to be at. And if we find any bad pipe, we'll be able to fix it before the new road's put in.
Okay. Any other questions of staff on this? A motion to bring this to the village board in regards to the sanitary sewer televising and repairs at 175th and Ridgeland?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
Number 5, discuss job order contract for 80th Avenue train station repairs.
And I'll take that again there, sir. Thank you. This is in regards to the issues we are having with the original installation at the 80th Avenue train station and the stairwells. We continue to negotiate with the original architect and the bond agency that covered the now bankrupt Z Corp. But with the fact that this will be a long, drawn-out process, we're looking to front the cost of repairs to a few of the stairwells that are now shut down due to our concerns of public safety. With the repairs, we looked at having them installed matching the existing Oak Park Avenue station drawings that we had pulled out from there. Those have obviously proven that they're, long-term. The station at Oak Park is over 15 years old with no issues that we've had with heaving or any of the deterioration that we've experienced at the 80th Avenue train station. Again, with the want to expedite the installation, we're recommending the JOC process as opposed to going out to a sealed bid, which would delay that installation process.
All right. Anyone have any questions?
I just have one question. Did it ever determine why this is? I mean, I've used those staircases myself, and then certainly these pictures in the big over there. Is it just poor workmanship or poor materials when they first put it in?
Let me have that. Trustee, we're actually working. working with the contractors, the architects, everybody involved there. You know, it's not the village's fault, I'll say that. Beyond that, you know, this could very, very well possibly end up in litigation, so I don't want to get too far into,
Okay.
you know, things like that, but there are experts, and they will make, you know, they will make opinions on, you know, why it is, I guess.
Okay.
But there seems to be a kind of a, their fault, you know, one of those going
Sure.
on. So that's kind of where we're at.
So you'll bring this to you'll bring the job order contract number to the board, or?
Yes, sir.
To the village board, this will be needs to the village board.
Need direction then? Do we have a motion? I'd like to make a motion to accept the job order contracting for 80th Avenue Train Station, bring to the village board. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Number 6, receive comments from the public. Anyone wish to address the board in regards to Public Works? The records show there is none. Do we have a motion to adjourn the Public Works Committee meeting?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
It's close.
Go ahead, Bill. Start it.
It's public works. Yeah.
Okay. They want extra cars tomorrow.
Go, Bill. Fire away.
I'd like to call to order the special meeting of Public Safety Committee. Noted the time would be 7:23. I'd like to consider the approval of the minutes of the special Public Safety Committee meeting held on February 20th. I can get a motion.
So moved.
Second? All right, item number 3. Discuss the emergency medical services rates. I think Mr. Carr, you're going to take this?
Yes, thanks, Trustee Brady. Kurt's ambulance is,
Pat, did I miss that? Did we get a? He seconded. Did I just do an all in favor? Just to get
Say all in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, all in favor, aye. The minutes are passed, sorry, Pat. Go ahead.
good to go. Kurt's EMS has brought to us, requested an increase of their EMS rates. These are usual and customary rates that are charged by all departments for EMS service. And currently, right now, we are below market rates. For our ALS, we're $350 below ALS 2, $250, and BLS 450. And what Kurt's is requesting is that we bring them up into line with our adjoining municipalities, particularly Orland Park, to match their rates. So per the contract, they have to give written notice to request for these rates, and over the past 25 years, we've done this with other providers. Rates have not been raised well over 4 years here, so they're trying to get in line more with what all of the other aligning municipalities are doing. So they put their request in and asking for approval to bring those rates up to the normal levels of the surrounding municipalities. We are the lowest in the area.
When do we just wait? I mean, wait till we get sign a new contract, or?
Yeah, we could do that. We could do that.
Yeah, I mean,
Absolutely.
we're looking to do that by July, correct, or August? to start?
Right, and the rates would be requested as part of the RFP process. The rates would be put in there too on what they would be charging.
Okay.
Okay. How about reviewing the emergency medical services draft request for proposal?
Do you got the direction you need there,
So
Pat? Is everybody good
is that
with
what the,
Is that tied in together?
no, or so is that what the, is everybody,
Want to do it now or wait?
what are we doing with the rates? Are we?
The suggestion was to wait until the contract changes. Is everybody on this committee
Oh,
fine with
July.
that, or do you want to move it to the board right now?
All right. Proposal is to move it to the board.
By trustee Watts. Is there a second?
Second.
The order so moved.
I'll take a vote. All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So ordered.
So it's going to go to the board for.
Right, gonna go to the board for approval.
Gotcha.
Item 4, review emergency medical service draft request for proposal.
Again, this is something that we've been working on for the past few months, as directed by on the November 21st meeting. So what we're doing is we've got a draft proposal that will be forwarded shortly to the village attorney for his review. And part of the key service model components of this RFP, again, using the current contract and then also the previous 2004 RFP as a template for minimum requirements. Our key service model components, and again, I'm just highlighting some of these, are contract length of 3 years with a 2-year extension, 5 ALS ambulances. The bidder must have a current 911 ALS service to a population of 25,000 or more for at least 18 months within the last 3 years. 24/48 fire shift and housed in the fire station as currently utilized. 1 shift supervisor assigned per shift with a minimum of 3 years of supervisor experience. 1 ALS fast response unit non-transport. 1 contract EMS paramedic administrator with at least 7 years of supervisor experience. 1 EMD dispatcher assigned to the 911 center. Review of invoices and receivables. Fire department shift commander retains daily operational control. CAD-driven GPS assignment of closest unit available. Auto dispatch. Cost sharing of net billing revenue of predetermined amount less 4% administration fee. Minimum paramedic salary of $43,000. Future ability to reduce contract staffing levels and associated costs with a blended in-house service. Some of the performance benchmarks will include response times, vehicle replacement and backup equipment, EMD quality benchmarks, and certification and training. As we discussed throughout this process, it's our intent and some of the direction that we received from the board was that we would eventually implement an ALS, BLS service with our own department that potentially would take over in the future. This is something that cannot be done overnight. This is a 1 to 3 year ramp-up period, so we will need a contract in place. That's why we're doing the RFP process now. But it also gives us the ability that any time within this period of the contract, as we blend in our own paramedics, that we can reduce the levels of the contract help in that. So it'll give us flexibility to implement our own system. So what we're looking for is to forward this for village board approval April 3rd, after the village attorney reviews it, and then also to begin the first responder BLS licensure of the fire department.
I had a couple.
Questions from the board?
Go ahead. You wanna go
No,
first?
go ahead.
I had a couple suggestions on there, Pat. Item number 1, we originally this was a 4-year contract, and we were looking to do a 2-year extension, which we passed, and then later we put it back because we wanted to look at our options to go out for RFQ. I'd recommend sticking to that process, since you do mention in here we're trying to blend this, right, Chief?
Right.
Is that something we can get, you think, do in 2 years? Try and blend it? Is that enough time for you?
We're still working on trying to determine what that timetable is going to be.
Yeah, since we have outs in these contracts, I would recommend making it, just do a 2-year contract and a 2-year extension, just in case you're not ready. That'd be 4 years, just like the current contract we have now, which is 4 years, which will keep us on the same level.
But Mike, you're talking about, when you're saying blended, we're talking about running an ALS engine. We're not going to be transporting people in a fire engine. We still need the service, so I'm not quite sure what you mean by.
Why wouldn't you want to do it 2 + 2?
Well, why only a 2-year contract?
It's a 4-year contract.
Right, but I mean, even if we get our own people certified for an ALS engine, I mean, we're not going to be able to transport them in a fire engine. We still need the ambulance service. We're not going to reduce the amount of ambulances that we provide to the community.
We had discussions about possibly going, looking at the options of going full-time anyways. So why would we lock ourselves into 4 years?
But we haven't even.
No, it's a question. You don't have to get upset.
No, I'm just saying, you can't. We don't own an ambulance. we haven't even got certified to respond yet for an engine company yet. I mean, this process is probably going to take 2 years just to get the engine certified.
And we could extend it another 2 years at the end of it. Just like this one was supposed to be, we were gonna extend it too, and then it got pulled. You're not locking yourself in. I mean, the rates could be cheaper. I mean, we don't know what the market's gonna call for in 2 years, but it's just a suggestion. Number 3, Pat, I was looking at that, and, the bidder, I think having a 911 experience is a must, instead of just, within having 18 months and 3 years. When we're dealing with the safety of our, residents, I recommend that, we don't even take bids that don't have that kind of service. If it needs to say the last 36 months, not 18 months. It's a complex safety issue, service anyways, we don't have time for a bidder to try and, figure out if they're fairly new or, to doing this. If, they've been doing it 18 months, I mean, it is the safety of our residents. And then, just because they provided 911 service or their management team has a 911 experience does not meet, the qualifications. A bidder does not currently provide the service. To me, they're not qualified. It's like, a company that only does 911 ambulance services is almost like a taxi company to me. Number 9, you have on review of invoices and receivables. I think we should have a review of the invoices, or the review of the invoices is not sufficient transparency to me. We've been talking about cost. Resident Swick's been talking about costs and profits. I've been thinking about that. I almost would like to know the bidder's cost to provide the service, and what are they collecting on our residents and non-residents, and know that they're not eking out an additional profit by using harsh debt collection. Point 3, the cost sharing of net billing revenue of predetermined amount less than 4%. This should be clear that predefined net billing revenue. I think we want to know how much money the companies will make, and then from there, how much is returned to us. I've heard that over and over from, again, Chris has brought that up several times. Currently, a third-party billing company is used to ensure the vendor cannot hide anything from the residents. Shouldn't we maintain this kind of safeguard? And then just a couple other points. The bidder, must have a current 911, a real 911, not a private ambulance emergency dispatch operations. And then the bidder must demonstrate they have a ready employee pool to provide the service. Today, the service has 33 staff assigned. How do we know a bidder, to replace that workforce? That's assuming some of the staff stays with Kurtz if they don't get the contract. This would represent a serious talent drain to the residents. When Kurtz took over the service from Trace, not one employee came from Trace. Assuming the same thing happens, how does Tinley know its residents will be served well? There isn't. It's not like there's a big pool of paramedics at large between all the companies. It just doesn't exist. There's only really 4 companies in the Chicagoland area that provide that kind of service. We don't want to limit ourselves to just private ambulance service. And then the companies also, I think, should have to disclose. This is something we're dealing with in planning with Trustee Mangan. We've been dealing with a lot of businesses that have been coming to town that are requesting incentives, and he's been going through their financials. I don't see why we should stop there. I think we should do it with this contract as well. The company should disclose their financial ability to even service the village, Pat. Like a letter of credit, their financials, and having the financial means to carry the service until enough billing dollars come in. If we're we do it on our TIF incentive projects, I think we should, on a project this size, I think we should do that as well. If you want, if you couldn't take all that, I could put it in email as well.
Well, I think for me, your points on number 9 and 13 are understandable. I'd like to check with the chief or Mr. Carr on number 3 about the bidding and that information on there. What's your opinion on that and what Trustee Glatz indicated?
Well, we're using, you know, this number 3 came off of the previous 2014 contract, so it asked for, you know, a minimum of 25,000. So that, again, is just a template. We can change that. You know, from talking with the fire department and within our circles, we have recommended to potentially raise that amount, but this is, again, putting this out there. This is draft. This is off of the previous template of the RFP, and, you know, we'll take all input and ultimately, you know, have you agree on it, so.
So you just copy and pasted it from the last one? It's not like you did like research or something on it, on other RFPs? This is just, you just pulled it off the last contract?
Well, you know, I have looked at RFPs. We are very unique in the sense of our size, so we are one of the largest municipalities that utilize this type of service, so we are unique in that aspect. So actually going out and asking for somebody that services 55,000 and above really doesn't exist, with the exception of us.
Yeah,
right now.
Personally,
So-
I'd like to see it more 35 or 40, but I just think it's too high of an ask. 25, I think, is a fair number, if that's what you did last time. But as far as the...
We will take, as I said, it's already been brought up in our task force, and it's there. I just put this, again, this is just draft, and to get people talking of how we want to go.
Sure.
So that, you know, the fire department has already brought it up. So, again, this is in draft form, and we can make the changes and discuss further.
Okay, yeah, just me personally, to touch base on what you're saying, Bill. If someone's coming to my door, you know, if they're calling cold blue, I want someone just to have 18 months. The more the better for, I think, for the safety of everyone. If you were comfortable with that, I'd like 36 months. Bill, it's...
Yeah. We could attempt it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Pat, when you did a RFP with the task force group, did you review share the contract that Kurtz has with Wheaton? Did we take anything out of that I supplied you? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I looked at the Wheaton one. I did not share the Wheaton one with the task force, but I did take a look at that one before. Also, Carroll Stream had, there was, I believe it was Carroll's, another western suburb, but again, they do not compare in size with us, but, you know, similar contract language. But again, as far as population-wise, we're an anomaly out there, you know, so we're the largest municipality.
Just a couple points. I think, obviously it was stated, there are a limited number of bidders. The one thing you do, the more restricted you make it, obviously, there's a chance you could lose on a very small pool.
Correct.
Keep that in mind. And Trustee Glatz, in terms of the financial requirements, I mean, we can add it. I'm not so sure I can't think of any other contract we do that with.
Well, we're
like
doing
garbage, but
We're doing it on Thursday for,
Well,
we couldn't even,
for
we couldn't,
developers,
we wouldn't
talking
even,
about.
Trustee Mangan wouldn't even move forward with the Blackstone unless they showed their financials, so.
No, I understand,
yeah.
but in terms of contractors, I mean, we'll check it whether we do it like for a refuse, like we
Yeah.
don't do it for.
Pat, legally, could we tell a contractor what they need to pay their employees, a private contractor? Is that legal even?
Well, those are two different things, right? What do you have to pay your employees, and then what your financial capabilities are? Those are two different things. I've seen them before in RFPs, you know, for legal services. I've seen they've asked you to take a look at, you know, your books or whatever.
Make sure their financials stay.
But, you know, can we tell them what to pay their employees? I don't know. I would have to look at
Yeah,
that.
and some of the previous,
would
some
be
of
difficult.
the RFPs I had, they do put minimum payments
Yeah,
or
maybe.
salaries in
I would
there.
have to look at it.
And I'd like to add, in the 2014 one, we did have the bidders break out their financials, break out their specific financials with benefits for their employees, what they were paying, what their profit margins were too. We requested that. So all of that was specifically asked for in that previous RFP, and a lot of that language still remains the same in that aspect.
Well, that's good.
And plus, there's a performance, letter of credit, performance bond that's required with this throughout the life of the contract.
Pat, you said in the past you've looked to, as far as contracting out, you said you got a pricing from like Orland Fire District or Mokina? Did we get that in the past to provide ambulance service for Tinley Park with their professional service, or no?
Yeah, we actually did about 4 years ago, 4 or 5 years ago we did, correct. Deputy Chief Klotz and myself went out and
If you
got
get a
all
chance,
that
if we could
information. Yeah,
email that out to the committee, that'd be great. I'd like to see
We
what
could get updated information.
Because, I mean, as far as us, this is going to be a long time as far as us getting certified for just to start off with the BLS or ALS engines, and then for us to look in the ambulance and service and stuff. But I think, be coming down in the future, and Chief Reeder, if you want to chime in at all, I think, obviously the south suburbs would probably need fire departments would be merging. It would be the logical thing, similar to Florida and or Las Vegas, where it'll be countywide departments. It's getting cost prohibitive for a lot of towns to provide fire and EMS service. We've had a part-time fire department for years, and we've got a contracted EMS service. But I think in the future, I think a lot of departments are looking to merge, and there's been talks, and I don't know if there's been talks since you've been here, Chief, about that, or any of your thoughts on that?
Obviously, you're dealing with municipalities and fire protection districts, and there's a lot of issues there that would have to be addressed. But personally, no, I haven't had anybody from any of the surrounding areas talk to us about consolidation or any future things that I've heard so far.
All right, thank you.
Well, you also, Chief, while you got the mic, excuse me, what do you think of the proposal about the 18 months within 3 years? What's your professional on it? Should they be 36, as Trustee Glass mentioned, or we leave it at 18, or what do you?
For their experience as a 911 provider?
Yeah.
Well, obviously, as much experience as they have, certainly benefits the quality of the paramedic and the organization that runs the service. That certainly I could see nothing but benefiting by more service is better.
To raise it up. Do we go to 24 months? Do you go to how far? What would be a good rule of thumb?
I don't have a lot of history and the background of the previous contracts, so I would defer to Pat with.
Yeah, again, we can put anything we want to put in there.
Yeah, maybe, I was just saying, maybe 36 is the extreme, going one end. Maybe 18 is too small, but 24 might be something in the halfway point, or any other figure that you want to have of how many months.
Excuse me, so what I could do is I could put a couple different options when I put give to our village attorney, have him look at it, and when it goes out in draft form to you, you can see a couple of different options there, and we could, I'll go with the direction of what the majority would think.
When you do your draft, I don't know, it was in the old draft because we were on the board then, but for we voted months ago about the 90-day out or something like that with carts. Are we going to have something, will we have a mechanism in there in this contract that will, say we want to give a notice that 90, 120 days we're terminating the contract? Or will we have something like that in there?
Yes, I mean, that clause has been in there since I've been here for the last 13 years. And we'll put that in there, and then also the clause will be in there, the ability to draw back based on how much we're being able to provide with our own people. So.
You have this ready by, was it next month?
April 3rd.
Yeah, so this will go to the village attorney this week for his initial review of it, and then we'll send out in draft form for you to review.
Looks good.
For the April 3rd meeting, go to the board or for the committee? Excuse me.
For the April 3rd board meeting.
Okay. All second that? The board?
Aye, or second?
We're all set. We don't need to vote on that.
Okay. All right. Any comments from the public?
I'm going to kind of start off a little bit last night, where I stopped last night. I got a little speech real fast that I kind of would like you guys to hear. It starts off for the past almost about 2 years now. I've tried to do my best in letting everybody in here, whether you're on the village board or you're sitting out here in the general public, to try and hopefully get you guys to understand that we as residents for probably over 40 years have been getting lied to with our EMS and privatizing it. We've been told that it's the right way, it's the cheapest way, and it's the only way. Well, that is furthest from the truth. Unfortunately, our money has not gone to provide better care, but to make certain private individuals mega rich. Instead of consistency in our patient care, we have a consistent revolving door of paramedics. Tenure being only 6 months on average as a paramedic working in our town. It's despicable. It's these companies that come in, all these private companies, including all the ones that are going to go out for the bid, they're for profit. They're not for better care. The money we are paying to be transported to the hospital is not being reinvested in our town compared to if the fire department did take it over. Understanding that it does take time, but at least we would have that understanding that it's coming. The current contractor doesn't invest in the medics, the ambulances, or the equipment, or training. It took damn near 2 years to get the medics to start training on a consistent basis. Last night, again, I brought up numbers that have never been made public. All I have heard is the same rhetoric. Sure didn't even explain why the village would rather contract services out than do it themselves. And this is the main thing I've been repeating since day one. Higher wages, better working conditions, equipment, and training. That's what we as the residents of this town, including I would think all of you would want. Now I did have some numbers from 2015. From 2015, we did 2,283 ALS transports and we did 940 BLS transports. Now the cost of an ALS transport, there's two numbers, $1,000 and $1,200. I took both those numbers, added them, divided by 2. I got 1,100. So what I did was, because I didn't know how many ALS or ALS2 calls there were out of the 2,283, I multiplied it. Well, like last night when I was talking about that the contractor so far has probably made anywhere between $12 and $13 million. For 2015, you get $3.3 million. So that was, I actually was on the low side of it. And then when I figured out for 2016, we did 3,310 calls. So I did the same thing as I did out of all the calls in 2015. Comes out to be $3.4 million. So here we have, in 2 years, about $3.7 million, well, $6.7 million. So you look at all the money that they've been making off this contract at our expense, and what have we gotten out of it? I got people who don't want to stick around. The town to be a stepping stone. When you have a town that's about 60,000 people, this town should not be a stepping stone. I heard last night, I heard Orland and Oak Lawn were compared, right? There's 23 other towns that do this, that do it fireman, paramedic, including part-time departments that do it fireman, paramedic. So I don't get it. Also, what's it called? If you might give me like 30 seconds.
Go right ahead.
And on top of it, we have a contractor in the town right now, and I'm sure even the prior contractors had the same problem. They could not keep anything consistently. Revolving door. I don't understand, and I have not heard anybody up here ever explain to me how revolving door of people coming in and out of this type of job, how that benefits each and every one of us, all 60,000 people that live here. I just don't get it. We contract the football games, we contract Oak Park Avenue events, we contract the 4th of July. For what? Why? Money? I mean, that's what the consistent theme here is. Privatization, like I keep saying, is for profits, not for better care. These guys get involved in this stuff knowing that coming to Tinley Park is going to be very, very lucrative. Why? Because 90% of our residents have what? Insurance. So when you got, this is the biggest town in the southwest suburbs. And it's like, everybody else around us gets it, and we don't. And I don't, for why? For 40 years? A lot of times I tend to figure out that, well, when we got people that, certain people that have businesses in town, money equals what? Power. Plays in politics big time. And let's face fact, for 40 years, it has never changed. Until what? Until an RFP, the first time I had to get up here for the past 2 years and talk over and over and over and over again just for an RFP to change, to help an RFP get changed. So with that, I'm glad to see it's going in the right direction. There's no doubt. I know guys are putting in time and effort. I get it. That's what we deserve. I'm not up here to bash anyone or put anybody down, but I don't like the fact of when I see people that are working in our town being extorted. And the paramedics for 40 years in this town have been extorted, in my view. And there's nobody that can really tell me any different. Because would you work for $34,000 a year? There's not one of you who could tell me yes right now. Guarantee you that. Maybe starting out for a little bit, yeah, when you're young, yeah. But when you're raising a family and the average income in the household is $75,000 in this town, you cannot tell me you can't afford it. Doesn't mean, it just, and the numbers guy, kind of funny he ain't sitting in here tonight. I talked to him yesterday and what? He couldn't even give me a common sense answer. Wants to play games. What else is new? Ask him a simple question. Show me the numbers. What is there to hide? Don't hide anything. Just tell us the truth. And you won't get this no more. I won't have to sit up and waste my time doing all this. I'm looking more into this than some people that's sitting up on this panel. It's ridiculous. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Mr. Carr?
Hey, Chris, first of all, I want to thank you for, coming to meet with the chief and I. And again, as we said, your input was taken and put toward this RFP. So I appreciate that. But I want to make it, to clarify some things as it relates to some of the numbers. And even though we have those rates at 2,200, our collections have been 1.7 million, or 1.7 million. That's what it's been, and the average collection's about anywhere from $300 to $500. So, those at the best, looking at what we would charge, yeah, it'd be great if we would be able to get 3.3. 3.3, would allow us to offset a lot of costs, but it's not that amount.
And I understand that. I was just going off of just what was
right. And we,
the insurance is only going to pay out.
right, and that, and that's one of the things that, it is, as much as we have a great town here, 90% is a little bit high for insurance too, of what people have. But regardless of the fact, we know now what has come in, as far as numbers, and it would be nice if it was 3.3 million. Unfortunately, it's around that 1.7 million, and at least we have those numbers. Okay, so at least now we know what it is for that. And then also, we've gotten almost, unlike the other contracts, we've gotten over 400,000 back, which we have reinvested into offset costs for our fire station, renovation and things like that. So.
I think, the only thing I'll curious is that the cost of the contract itself was paid $3.7 million. How do you say when you're talking up, when everybody's talking up here on the board of, we got to save costs, we got to save costs, but yet you're paying a contract to come in and do it for $3.7 million. So you're out $3.7 million.
Right, and you're talking over the 4-year period.
Yeah, right.
Correct. Okay.
I mean, $3.7 million, that ain't nothing to play with.
Right. So I just wanted to make those clarifications, Trustee Brady. But thanks again, Chris, and we're going to keep the dialogue open with everybody. So.
Any other comments from the public? I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded. Thank you all for coming out in this storm.